Hi everybody, I'm Bob Anderson of Bob Anderson Art, and I'm back to continue to explain to you how I'm painting this painting here. Okay, so since the last video where I spoke with you, I went ahead here and I noticed on the grid, on the photograph, where this river kind of is back here, where it bends around the bend. The first bit of river that you see in the background is right up here at the base of this mountain. You can see a little bit of blue and there's white, and you can see a little bit of the bank of the river. And that bank of the river is like a little beige, little white, little beige, cream, and then there's like the bluish river coming around. So I went ahead and I put in right here I put in like the bluish white right in here, a little bit of a cream and beige in here, because that's where the bank is up here in the photograph. And then it kind of bends around and comes around here. The river comes around. So then I noticed on my photograph in the correct grid that this bank then wraps the creamy color of the bank comes wrapping around this bend here in the river. And then there's greens and bushes tucked up in here, which are kind of hanging over the edge of the river. And so I painted them in. I put, these green bushes, little bushes along the edge, and they're very yellowy green. I put some little shadows because as they appear in the photograph, and put them there. And then the bank of the river is kind of like a creamy, again, beigey. So I put that in with little shadows and highlights in there, and it comes around to here, right here. So again, like I put this in, I'm replicating the look of there's like white water here right up against the bank, and then there's the creamy bank and the shadows underneath the bushes. So that's what I did here. I brought the bank around just like it is configured on the grid and relates to the grid here. So that's how I did that. And that's what I did in the meantime. Now, then I went and I decided it was time to base out the bank on the other side of the river, which is right up in here. And so all of this is green with a dark underlayment. So I painted this sliver of land according to the shape it creates on the grid and on the canvas. I based it out in a dark brown and black. And then I went over it and I put on the lighter greens and there's kind of the bushes that appear. There's little clumps of bushes all along this top part, this upper part of this area on the grass, right at the base of the mountain, okay? So then there's little shadows and along the bush line. So there's like shadows. This bushy area has shadows, dark shadows that are kind of outlining it and giving it definition. And then there's like a shadow line, if you can see, running right along here. There's a shadow line right at the edge of the bank. So I painted that in the correct area on the grid along there. Then I went in and I put lighter greens. I put the grass in all here, painted the green bushes, and then I put highlights on the bushes where the sun's hitting it the most, shadows in the bushes. And then I went out here and I put the lighter green, the darker greens, and then the medium greens, and then the lighter greens. And then there's little rocks, there's washed out looking rocks and collections of rocks and boulders along here. I kind of put them in here in like a creamy color, a beigey color, a light brown. And then I put these little speckles of green, lighter green, yellowy green, because that's what it looks like on the photograph. That's where the light is hitting it. And the yellow, the grass is exploding in a yellowy green from the sun. So I put the lighter spots of yellow green in here, and the beigey kind of rocks and darker shadows, and then your little yellowy spots, and tried to make it look as much as I could to look like this sliver of land that's on the other side of the bank. Then I decided to put in the background, the base for this part of the bank that comes around here on the grid and then wraps all the way down to the front of the painting, almost to the center, because that's the way it is in the photograph. So I based it out in a dark brownish, blackish color as well. And then I started putting the bright green that's on top of that in here, just like it is in the photograph. I started putting it in. So I just wanted to explain that to you, catch up where we're at. So now, as I'm looking at this, excuse me, and so I'm putting this light, I'm looking at the photograph, and I'm looking at where this light greenish color on the lawn is coming in, and the shape, and the size of it, and how it folds, and how it plays out on this particular grid in the photograph. So I left these spots, these darker spots here, because these look like where I'm going to put these. There's a rock outcropping, some boulder looking things and rock outcroppings that are spotted through here. So I left those dark at first, okay? I'm in the process. I'm in the process. Okay, so I'm just putting these greens in, these light, because it's very bright, sunny green up there. So I'm going to start putting this all, continue to put all this in. And then I'm going to start putting the boulders in, okay? The boulders that are kind of situated right here. There's a little boulder here. And see, there's an outcropping right here in this part of the grid. And that's how I'm laying out this closest part of the painting in the grass on this side of the bank of the river. Okay? And that's how you begin to develop, how I begin to develop the land over here on this side of the bank. And I'm just, as you can see it, I'm just putting it right over the dark brown base, because there's going to be little areas where that dark brown is going to show through because it's soil. And when you look at grass, although it may be basically really green, there are little bits of brown where little bits of the soil show through, and little bits of golden, like orange colors. There's all kinds of colors in grass when you really see it, okay? And as an artist, it's good to start to look at things and study what they look like, what the colors look like bouncing off of them. Because I remember when I was younger, I was told that there was colors and everything, but I couldn't see them. I had like a mental block or something. And then when I got older, as I kept looking, I started seeing little reflections of the sky, little reflections of this or that, bouncing off lawns, bouncing off trees, grass, buildings, sidewalks. It's amazing because everything has light and color bouncing off of it in many different ways. And that's what makes our world so colorful. Okay, so I'm back here. Now I'm noticing here that right here, before I even put the boulder in, it looks like there's a darker, greener grass area. So I'm going to make a darker green here. And I'm going to put that, or it's a bluer green. It's a bluer green. And I'm going to put that in right here as it pertains to the position, the correct position on the grid. Okay. So this has got to be a little bluer. So I'm adding the blue color here. And I'm putting it in, and I'm going to put the boulder in next right here, or this rock outcropping. So anyway, that's what I'm doing here. I'm beginning to bring the landscape forward to the front of the painting. Okay. So I'm putting this bluish green area in here, and it kind of runs down the side of the boulder. I've kind of screwed it up here, but I'll correct it, because you can always correct everything. Everything can be fixed. Don't ever worry. If somebody throws negative things at you, don't listen to them. Well, sometimes what people say, there may be some truth in it and you'll want to evaluate it, but a lot of times, I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but some people carry unhappiness inside of them, and because they feel unhappy and sad inside, they may feel negative inside. So if a person feels negative inside of themselves, they may reflect negativity on everybody that they come into contact with. That's why if you know somebody who is really negative and complains and gripes all the time about everything, then you know that that person inside feels sad and dark and depressed, because that's why they're reflecting all this negativity that they feel inside. They see it in everything around them. So someone who's very dark inside always sees darkness first in everybody and everything. So you have to be careful, because sometimes people will look at your art as you're creating it and they'll throw something negative in because they feel negative. So don't be mad at them, because try to understand, use your heart, my heart's here, to feel compassion for them and understanding, and don't be offended, because they don't even know what they're doing. They don't even understand that their negativity might hurt you. They're not aware of how hurtful they could be. They're just reflecting this garbage that they feel inside out onto everyone around them. So you must always be strong when you're painting, when you're creating, in every area of your life. Always review yourself every day just to make sure that you're on your square, that you're balanced and you're doing the right thing. But don't ever let anybody bully you around and convince you that you're a bad person, or that negative things are coming to you, or that you're a negative person yourself. Always know that you're a good person inside. It's who you are inherently. All souls are inherently beautiful, beautiful souls. And I'm going to get onto that someday. I'm going to make a whole video just about the inherent qualities of your soul, because I never hear people talk about it. I never hear anyone talk about the beautiful, beautiful reality of what every single being's soul is inherently like. I want to tell you about that someday. So anyway, for today, that's it. Watch my next video, because there's going to be more coming. Thank you. Bye-bye.